Okay, today's demonstration is how to draw out your composition on your final piece of paper and how to predetermine where you'd like to put or whether or not you would like to use watercolor, and if you'd like to use watercolor, where to put the watercolor, and how to mix and apply watercolor. The first thing you want to do, the pieces of paper are over in between the two sinks. Grab a piece of watercolor paper, it's kind of thick, and put your name and period on the paper. So make sure that you don't just have initials and period 4 or period 2, depending on what class you're in. And the next thing that you're going to do is take your sketch from yesterday and redraw it on your larger piece of watercolor paper. Now, this is not great quality watercolor paper, and there's a reason for that. Great quality watercolor paper would soak up and dry out any markers that you use really, really quickly. So this is pretty, as watercolor paper goes, like not that absorbent. It's 80-pound watercolor paper, so it can't handle a lot of water, just so you know. It's kind of like multimedia paper. I have this from my sketchbook. You can leave your sketch in your sketchbook, or if it's a loose piece of paper, or if it helps you, you can fold along that line. This is the proportion of your new paper. Then what you're going to do, just like the copy pack, there was a reason we did that, is you're going to look at the edges of your paper in relation to your line work, look at any of your intersecting lines and all of that stuff, and copy it on your big paper, lightly with a hard pencil or a mechanical pencil. Okay? Now, you don't have to put every single little thing in if you decide that you want to use watercolor. How would you determine if you want to use watercolor? One way is watercolor is quick. You can get anything from a white to a dark gray really successfully. If you want strong black and white contrast, you'd leave that for marker or acrylic paint, which next week, after the long weekend, I'll give a demonstration on how to use other materials like acrylic paint and things like that. Okay. I tend to like watercolor because you can go over a page really quickly at the end of the class period, maybe like 15 minutes, and then put it on the drying racks behind me, let it dry. You come in the next day. It might be a little wrinkly like this. This is from period 2. Take it. Roll it in the opposite direction. It's bone dry after just one period. Lay it flat on your desk and work in other mediums right on top. Okay. So if you're looking for this value range from white to dark, it might be good. One thing that isn't so great about watercolor is it can get streaky if you leave it too long and make it puddly. So it might be a good idea to grab paper towels that I forgot. So I'm going to go get it right now. And that would prevent that pooling of water. Okay. So the next step is how to mix watercolor. We are using tubes of watercolor for this project. So you want to take some watercolor and put it in the bottom of your cup. Then everybody has 2 cups, a water cup and a cup with the watercolor in it. Let's put a little bit of water in your watercolor cup and then mix it up. And you really don't know, without testing it, how dark your watercolor is going to look. So there's little strips of paper over by the sinks. This is the same paper that you're going to use for your, it's the same as the composition paper. And then you start. Oh, sorry, one more step. Before you actually start watercoloring, you want to determine where your different values are going to be. Notice here I wrote dark to lighter, and notice I didn't draw in all these circles because I thought it might be fun to put those in a different medium on top. So we're going to be layering mediums for this project. So I kind of tend to go with what might be fun, and it definitely would not be fun to color in between all of these circles. So think about this. If we're thinking about positive, negative space relationships, wouldn't it be nice to just put watercolor down here and then maybe go with a white or a different tone gray on top with the circles with a wider paintbrush and then go to a skinnier paintbrush? That is going to be a lot more fun for me. And art is fun. If it's not fun, then you got to think of a way to do it so it is fun. That's my philosophy. All right. So here we go. The other thing you want to do is turn your paper so you're applying your watercolor from dark to light. On my little map here, I have darker here, and then I want to go lighter over here. So, keeping my clean water cup near me, I'm going to start. It's impossible to talk and do this at the same time. So, get all your talking out of the way and then paint, because you need to work kind of quickly. You never want your edges to dry dark, so then you put it in your water, because otherwise, you know, it'll get stripy. If it starts to pool, pull that water away so your paper doesn't get too ripply, or ta-da! At any time you can add oohs and ahs to the video. First in effect, like ooh, ah. That's the transition that I wanted right there. See how I forgot about that angle? Now it's gonna dry a little dark. Not the best, but let's see if I can blend that in. I don't wanna go over this paper too many times because remember, it's not great quality watercolor paper. There we go. Now I'm done with that area, okay? Now I'm gonna do a dark area over here. Whenever I put watercolor up against watercolor, I want to make sure, if I don't want this area of darkness here to blend into this, I need to just hit it with a blow dryer really quick. In the back of the room, there's 2 blow dryers set up. Doesn't need to be bone dry, but just enough so it doesn't run in. Now, there's different brushes up there, flat brushes, round brushes. All of my areas tend to be pretty wide. There's even brushes called line brushes that have long, skinny bristles. For my application, I'm using the wide brush, but if you have thinner lines to put in, just remember it's going to probably be straight white behind it if you want that. I would suggest for the watercolor for this application that you use like a little bit of a wider brush. And I'm going to go real dark for this line because this balances out my composition right here. Notice in the corner I just turned my brush on the side, covering up all the white. Now with watercolor, you move kind of fast. Say you make a mistake. Don't worry about it. You can start over. In art school, sometimes I would spend $5 on one piece of paper. With this is very inexpensive paper. And so you could just grab another sheet. Okay. I still don't like how that looks. So what I would do, see how it's liney there? I would hit it with the blow dryer and then just kind of go over it another coat. If you don't hit it with a blow dryer first, you could possibly eat away at the paper. And then I'm gonna put a lighter coat in my background. Test your color just to make sure it looks the way you want it to look. You can, even if you're not sure, hit it with the blow dryer. And I just want this to be a really light gray. Watercolor cleans off the desk really, really easily. So if you get a little on the desk, even at the end of class, you can just wipe it with a paper towel or with a sponge, and you won't have any problem getting up the pools. If you have a lab or were absent, you would probably want to come outside of class and do the watercolor part, because you'll probably need, you know, one day to draw it, like the demo day, and one day to apply the watercolor. Notice I'm turning my paper. I know I waited enough time for that half moon to pretty much dry. And then in order to show my mark, I know that this has to be two different values. If it's the same value or a difference between light and dark, it's not gonna show up, and I'm gonna cover up what I did, like that nice crisp edge. Okay, now I'm done for today. Or if my timing's a little off, I can go to the back of the room and really blow dry the whole thing, and then put another layer of a different medium on top of this. It'll look great with white charcoal pencil on top of dark. It'll look good with white acrylic paint on top, oil crayon, pastel would give like a soft look. So there's all different things you can do. And at this point, my name's on the back. It's ready for the drying rack. I'm having everybody put these on the drying rack, even if they only get their drawing done today and don't put anything else. I know it sounds silly, but I want to make sure that these don't get folded in half and creased. They just don't end up looking good. So a drying rack is a good place, which is right in the back of the room for us to store these. Just make sure that you please put your class period. And that's it. Thank you.